Donald Trump talks about being able to end the war between Russia and Ukraine within 24 hours. But when he was pressed on the issue, notice he refused to answer the question because answering it truthfully would reveal that he is in the tank for Vladimir Putin.
Clarifying the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal.
If anyone was confused about that before, last night's debate performance made this extremely clear. Donald Trump would literally give Ukraine away.
I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans.
All over social media last night, account after account, you saw members of the Republican Party making it clear that they could no longer support the Republican Party if Donald Trump is their representative. If he is going to be their candidate, they would not support the Republican Party. And so more and more people are converting over to support Kamala Harris. She mentioned this in last night's debate in regards to the 200 former Republican officials that worked with Donald Trump, Mitt Romney, John McCain, etc., all who have endorsed her.
This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney.
Now, I'm not fond of Dick Cheney. I'm not fond of Dick Cheney at all. In fact, I'm having a very visceral reaction to his endorsement of Kamala Harris. But at the end of the day, when we consider we're talking about the end of democracy, what Donald Trump is talking about is ending democracy. Donald Trump has said he wants to suspend the Constitution. And Donald Trump has made it clear that he is in love, enamored, and impressed by strongmen and dictators.
It is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace.
And as Kamala Harris pointed that out so perfectly and eloquently last night, I believe it became clear in the minds of more and more Republicans that they absolutely cannot stand idly by, and for the sake of a party, they would support the end of democracy. There are several users on Twitter in particular that made this very clear. I want to read a few of them to you. I am a conservative, always admired Reagan. I don't like the, quote, woke progressive left, and supported DeSantis in the primary. I know Harris is a lib and never liked her, but last night made it obvious to me that Harris has more respect for our institutions, our cultural norms, and for our American traditions than Trump. He is so awful, it makes her look Reagan-esque. When Harris said Trump's own generals, his Secretary of Defense, Joint Chiefs of Staff, and National Security Advisor won't support him and say he's dangerously unfit, a disgrace, and a wannabe dictator.
I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace.
Trump immediately perked up and went on a weird rant about how Viktor Orban, an Eastern European autocrat, loves him and tells him how strong he is and how much he likes him.
Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person. He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him.
This guy is just completely un-American and has no idea or understanding of what makes our country what it is, what makes a republic, and what democracy means. He doesn't understand service or the role of a citizen statesman. He truly admires dictators and autocrats like Xi and Putin and Orban more than anyone on our own team. He admires the characteristics of tyrants that Americans historically despised and fought against at every turn. It is in our shared culture, our American DNA, to hate the type of people Trump loves. We all know he called to terminate the Constitution and led a seditious fake elector plot and a riot at the Capitol in an attempt to overturn the election. He's clearly completely insane and unfit. Just blows my mind that anyone is still supporting this treasonous, lying fool. He is so completely un-American. Lord willing, Harris will beat this fool in a landslide. The GOP can rebuild into more of a party and less of a cult, and we can be done with this sad, sorry chapter in American political history. And this is what one other person replied, saying, quote, I always thought the GOP was more anti-Russia than pro-Trump. I was wrong. MAGA is so far down the rabbit hole that they would justify a Russian invasion into the U.S. if Trump told them it was okay. That last one, that MAGA would support an invasion of the United States if Donald Trump said it was okay. This has become painfully clear when you consider how MAGA has fallen over themselves to show support for Vladimir Putin in this invasion. I want you to listen to this tweet by MAGA influencer Gunther Eagleman, who was in the press room, the war room for Donald Trump last night during the debate. So this isn't just some random MAGA influencer. This is someone who's so close to Donald Trump that he was a part of the debate team last night. And this is what he said in regards to Putin. Quote, Dear Putin, I hope this post finds you well. I wanted to let you know that a majority of Americans do not support the funding of Ukraine. We do, however, have a few that believe everything the U.S. government and media tells them. We call them sheep. These sheep are incapable of thinking for themselves and lack any common sense. I ask, don't blame us for the sheep and their actions. Signed, Real Americans. This is absolutely bananas. The fact that we have Americans who are looking at Vladimir Putin, a murderous dictator who has assassinated any opposition that rose up against him, who has invaded Ukraine, who has poisoned leaders in Ukraine. They are throwing their support behind Vladimir Putin all because Donald Trump told them to. So yes, that last tweet I read when they said that MAGA would support an invasion of the U.S. if Donald Trump said it was okay. It's already in the making. There are traitors amongst us who would go along with Donald Trump and his love and fealty and support for Vladimir Putin, even if Vladimir Putin wanted to invade the United States of America. They have made that clear, and Kamala Harris made that extremely clear last night.
It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favor.
It is so refreshing, and I am so glad and I am so grateful to know that there are Republicans and conservatives who reject MAGA. There are Republicans and conservatives who reject Donald Trump. There are conservatives and Republicans who can see what is going on and say that they are willing to put country over party. They are not willing to go down this rabbit hole with Donald Trump to overturn and destroy democracy, all for the ego of one man, all so that they can own the libs. I am so grateful that there are Americans who can see through this and are willing to do the difficult thing, which is to change their mind. It is so difficult to change your mind when you have believed something for so long. But when the evidence piles up and you see who Donald Trump really is, you see where his loyalties really lie, and you see that his entire cult of personality of MAGA, they have decided to betray the United States of America. It is critical. It is crucial that we make alliances with them, even if it's only temporary, even if we all go back, which we probably will and we probably should, because we disagree on too much. There's just too much that we disagree on. But it is too important to save democracy so that we all can live to fight another day. When you have a president, you have a former president who wants to become president again, who is willing to use political violence, who's willing to use lies, who's willing to betray the United States of America and ally with dictators. And not only ally with dictators, but not be smart enough to keep it to himself, but rather brag about it on the international stage. That lets you know that we are in danger, America, and we absolutely must unify with real Americans all around this country, regardless of political party, regardless of what we disagreed on in the past. We must unite to destroy MAGA and relegate them to the dustbin of history. Make them go back into the dregs of society where they are ashamed to show their face, and we can build a future where we might fight about policy. We might fight and disagree about cultural issues. We may not see eye to eye on just about anything, but we can see eye to eye on democracy itself. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe to this channel, Really American, where real Americans are uniting against the very real threat that is Donald Trump and that is MAGA.